This is a 2006 GMC Duramax. As you can see, I did the EGR delete and should have looked a little further ahead before doing it. Getting rid of the old EGR kind of pulled out from, this is the Y bridge down in here, and that's just O-ring fitting, and this blue tube here, by the time I mounted it and got it all into position, it seemed to have pulled that mouthpiece out of the Y bridge. So now I'm gonna have to change the Y bridge, and I've ordered a new Y bridge and gonna start. And apparently you can do it without removing the turbo, so hopefully we'll see how she goes. All right. Okay, so first you gotta take off your cold air intake. I'm getting to this tube here. I'm gonna have to take off the turbo mouthpiece, and then I'm gonna have to drain some coolant. And unfortunately on this truck there's no drain plug. So the lower hose is the one I'm supposed to crack, and I gotta drain, I don't know, a couple of 4 liters or so. And then I'm gonna try and get away with just taking the thermostat housing off and moving this coolant line to the side. And the Y bridge is right down in there. There's the mouthpiece to it, where this blue tube attaches to. So there's only 8 bolts holding it on. I think 6 of them are impossible to get at, but see how far we get when we get there. So finished taking the rest of this all apart. Okay, so this is the passenger side. I removed the wheel well, and here's the lower coolant hose right here. And I'm just gonna put a screwdriver in between there after I took this clip out. Here's the clip. You just take the clip out right there. Just slides in there. I'm just gonna pry this over a bit, and I'll drain some coolant into a bucket. It's got like not a bad spot. All right, I got the mouthpiece out of the Y bridge, of the old Y bridge out already. Yeah. So I took the thermostat housing off, and to get that free, I had to undo all this electrical to move the electrical brackets. But before I did that, I had to move the hot side of the turbo there, which goes into the intercooler. And then so we'll move that out of the way, undid all these harnesses so I could move this bracket to get to the bolt hidden under this solid tube which goes to the thermostat housing. Now you can see down there, this is where the mouthpiece went in to the Y bridge. I've got all the front bolts out, which are okay, and you can, I wiggled that piece out. I did loosen all these fuel lines and stuff. There's these two there's a bolt right there, and then one more over here something. Oh, my finger's on it. You can't see it, but my finger's on it. And then there's 2 down below those, which apparently you can reach with a bunch of extensions. So I haven't got there yet. Still got to get the top 2 out. I got the front 4 out, and then just 4 more to go, but they're the hard ones. I was thinking of popping the AC pump or compressor off and just moving it to the side. There's a little slack in the lines here, and then I would have been able to get this out, unless you can weasel that out, but I haven't figured a way, so I've kind of left it out of my way. This big piece of electrical harness is a bit of a pain right now, but we're still going at it. You can see I had quite a big leak at the boot. Look at all the soot and stuff there. If you look at, I had only half an O-ring on the mouthpiece of this goes into the Y bridge, the stock one. It's
just held in there with, I guess when the EGR and everything's all in place, it all lines up and it holds it perfectly. But only half an O-ring, so that might be part of the reason I got such a bad boost leak. But alright, back at her. We'll see when we get the Y bridge out, and if I'm able to actually feel the socket on the bolts there. I did buy this flexible extension because I saw like if you try to use one of those swivels, it just drops on you and you wouldn't be able to get it. So I ordered one of these flexible ones, and hopefully that gives me enough to get it in there. But we'll see as I go a little further. So still the hard ones left to get. Alright, that wasn't pretty. I got the old Y bridge out. There's 160,000 miles of goop in there. As you can see, it goes between the two cylinders down there. That wasn't very nice. This tube here was a real pain in the ass. You had to pry it right back against the turbo housing to try and get down to that. Here's that. It's a nut on that little peg there. And then these fuel lines were in a pain, and there was a little tab sticking out here which held on the fuel lines. I removed, and then so I could try and pry it when I was pulling out the housing. Yeah, I guess the more you take off, the easier it is. We'll see. Let's compare the two. So there's the stock Y bridge, and here's the new machined from SDP Diesel. It's all one fancy little billet piece of aluminum. It's even got a bit of a little to divide the wind a little better, or the air, and quite a difference in there's the difference of diameter there in the tubes, and there's just a whole bunch of goop in that one. So the kit came with new gaskets. There's all new. There's the pipe that goes down to the lower side, and what else? And this piece bolts on right there, opposed to the stock where the problem was. As you can see, one of the O-rings it was all chewed up. It just sits in there. It's not even bolted or anything. So that's where my leak was from. When I was testing it, I couldn't even get it to build any pressure. The leak was that bad. So I have a feeling that's going to be all scratched up trying to get it in, because that old one didn't come out quite so easy. And the only thing I notice is I don't have that bolt hole right there, but I think that was just to hold down a wiring harness and stuff, so should be all good. Came with new gaskets, a couple new bolts, piece of heat shrink, and some minor instructions, not too much. And another O-ring for that face right there, and the two gaskets for right there. Oh, and it came with another tube for your coolant when you do the EGR delete. So, but I had already done that and went the cheaper route, which ended up costing a little more now. So next, clean up the old area there before I try and put in this new piece. Right on, see how this goes. All right, I think getting the part out was hard, getting it in is just as hard. Not to mention the bolts are all different. Ones are harder to get at than coming off the stock one. So I've had to bend this tube around to try and get at that bolt. They gave you two magnetic bolts for the bottom, and those were the easiest ones to get on the stock one. And on this one, I haven't quite figured it out. But even just trying to get it to go down into position to have the bolt holes line up is been a pain. Well, I got the ones in the back down below on, and those were just nuts. And I couldn't leave them on. I had to actually put them on after I got the part in, the Y bridge in. But that's Y bridge in place. Now bolts left. I also ended up taking my belt off and moving the AC unit over as far as it could go. It gave me that extra room to pull the lines up and stuff. I kind of needed it. It was actually harder getting the new one in than the old one out. These were the two easiest bolts to come out, and they're the hardest to get back in now.
It's definitely in now.
Getting it all back together. You'll have to move all these fuel lines out of the way. They're just low pressure fuel lines to try and so that you can get the this nozzle in place. And again, there's another tricky. That's a 12-point nut, 11, or actually a 7/16 wrench fit on that perfectly. Yeah, slowly getting it all back together. Countless hours later, it's all back together.
Yeah, here.
It's not a Heineken ad.
No.
But you had to reroute a bunch of the wiring, and then that used to sit on the old EGR. So make sure everything's out of the way, everything's all tightened up, back together. See how it starts. So when I'm cleaning up my tools, I thought here's a few little things I had to put together to actually get the bolts on the Y bridge. The new one, the front bottom two, so at the front of the engine, the lower two were the hardest two to get back in. On the old one, taking the old one out, the two towards the firewall down at the bottom were the hardest ones to get out, and those were the easiest to get in on the new one. So I ended up getting, luckily I ordered one of these flexible extensions. That was super handy. That was used on almost all the bolts. On installing the new one, I actually had to take a 10mm socket. I cut down the cutter down on both sides. It still fit into the onto the wrench, but it gave me room to get in, so it was shorter on both ends and enough to bite on the bolt. But also, this actually came in super handy. I used it on the front two bolts that were at the bottom. I tried using a piece of hose, so I put a little piece of, once I got the bolt in there, I put tape around it to hold it a little firmer, and screwed it in with that. But then I was actually still having problems trying to flex it up and bend it, and when my dad showed up, he said, "Why don't you just shove a piece of tie wire in there?" So you shove a piece of tie wire in there, and that was cat's ass. I was able to bend it in the position I needed it, and then once I got the bolt to where I wanted to try and thread it in, you pull the tie wire out and then just thread it in. So yeah, this little piece of tube was a saver. Other than that, I don't think there was any other pieces that I really needed, but I would say this is a must, this flexible 1/4 inch extension. The swivel, I found the swivel, you put the socket on it and then the swivel just drops and you can't get it to where you want it. But with this flexible, once the socket's on there, you can push it in hard and then bend it and still crank it tight or loose. And that's about it. I clean up the rest of the tools and the truck's all good to go.